Hello everybody, Tyron the God 3 here, and welcome back to the fanfic series, Pokemon Universe. Today I'll be reviewing episode 8 that I made of Pokemon Universe known as Big Brother Kaz. Stop following me, kid. This episode is very unique to me in the sense, well, it doesn't even revolve around Trent, Luna, or Coda. It's like the episode doesn't even involve them. They're not even in it. So that's a pretty interesting episode to just go off of. I actually make a couple of these Kaz-based episodes, and this was just the first one. I figured it would be a good idea to make a episode that revolves around the rival. That way there's more sympathy on the rival when he battles off against the main protagonist. Plus, I'm a sucker for character development, and I refuse to have a rival that only shows up on occasions. So I figured make an episode based on the rival during the journey, give something that's happening while our heroes are still traveling, because not everything I'm going to make on Trent, Luna, and Coda traveling is going to be the most interesting in the world, so why not? The episode basically begins with the narrator even pointing out that Trent, Luna, and Coda are missing in this episode, and instead we're following Kaz on his journey. He ends up hearing the cry out of a kid, and this kid is basically trying to get away from these two thugs that are harassing him over this egg that he has. The kid found this egg somewhere in the woods, and the thugs want it because they believe that it'll hatch into a really rare and valuable Pokemon that they can go ahead and sell. While they're harassing the kid, Kaz comes out, and at this point we see that he has not only the Spearow that he caught from episode 2, but he also has a Horsey now. He uses the Horsey smokescreen and bubble tactics in order to distract the thugs so that he could get the kid away. Once he ditches the thugs and gets the kid out of there, the kid introduces himself to be Thomas. And Kaz then introduces himself. And then Kaz goes off to head back on the road to get his gym, to the next gym. But the kid decides to go ahead and follow because he's like, hey, you seem cool. Everything you're doing is very awesome. Kaz doesn't want him to follow him, though, because he's on his journey and he wants to do this by himself. And two, he gets a little annoyed at the kid because he's worried about where his home is. It's at this point that Thomas admits that he doesn't want to go back home because of the way that his mother treats him. The mother doesn't allow him to have any Pokemon or have much fun or anything. So, because of this, well, his parents aren't actually at home. It's not even his mother. It's like a parental guardian figure that takes care of him. But because of this, he chooses to follow Kaz. Plus, he doesn't know how to get back to his hometown. So, Kaz then makes the decision, all right, well, I'm headed to the next town anyway. Once we get there, we're going to get Officer Jenny to pick you up and take you home. So they agree that they're going to go ahead and do that. So while they're traveling, however, they run into a bunch of Survivor. And these Survivor are hot on the tail of trying to get that egg so that they can eat it. Kaz goes ahead and uses Spearow and Horsey in combination in order to fight off the Survivor, and then uses the ability to uses that advantage to escape. Once they escape, Thomas starts giving Kaz crap about running away from the Survivor, stating that he's supposed to be a Pokemon master, or he's supposed to be a Pokemon trainer. Why is he running away from a fight? Kaz then tells the kid that there's some fights you have to run away from, and you have to be smart. You can't just approach everything head first. The kid then starts to understand to some degree, but he still gets a little curious about that. Later on, while they're still traveling to the next town, they decide to go ahead and take a break in a nearby area. When they take a break in a nearby area, they end up getting really hungry. It's at this point that we learn that the kid keeps a secret stash of food in the area. And when he found the food, it was a bunch of snacks, like chocolate and, candy and stuff. This snack food catches the scent. The scent from the snack food catches the nose of a nearby Pokemon, which is Ursaring. So Ursaring comes out of nowhere and tries to get some of the food, and Kaz and Thomas freak out because it's a freaking Ursaring. Kaz then runs away along with the kid, and they run. And it's funny because I made it so Ursaring looks more confused than scary. He's looking like, well, I just wanted the snack food. So he just starts munching down on the snack food, and then Kaz and Thomas are running away. Thomas gets mad that Kaz didn't fight off the Ursaring, and Kaz tells him the same thing he told him last time. Thomas then states that you're just being a coward, and at this point he insults Kaz's Pokemon battling skills and puts them into question because he doesn't fight all the battles that he's in. At this point, Kaz gets very frustrated by the kid, and they have a little bit of an argument. And then even still, the whole incident with him bringing the food out into the woods in the first place causes a whole uproar between the two, and they wind up in a big argument. When they wind up in the big argument, the kid wants to take the egg back to his home, while Kaz wants to take the kid to the town, and they basically have a disagreement. Since the kid wants to go get the egg back to wherever it came from, and Kaz wants to go to the town so they can take him home, they have this big disagreement, and when they do, they end up splitting ways. The kid's gonna go find where the egg belongs so he can take it back, and Kaz is gonna just leave. He's going back to his journey. He doesn't care anymore. It's at this point, however, that the kid, once he splits from Kaz, runs back into the thugs that harassed him at the beginning of the episode. So that's pretty much trouble for him. Kaz actually winds up finding where the egg belongs. He ends up seeing a nest of Staraptor. And when he sees the nest of Staraptors, he puts two and two together. And when he puts two and two together, he realizes that this is where the egg belongs. At this point, the Kaz starts to remember Thomas and the egg and everything that they've been through the woods while Kaz was trying to get Thomas home, and he starts to feel a little more sympathetic towards Thomas for leaving him. At this point, Kaz goes back in order to find Thomas wherever he is, and Staraptor, or the father Staraptor, actually goes with Kaz. When they run into the area, they see that the kid is actually being harassed again by the thugs, and he almost got caught, but Staraptor and Kaz come in and fight off. Staraptor ends up fighting the one thug, and I didn't give them names because their names weren't relevant towards the plot. Staraptor fights the one thug that has the Zigzagoon, and they end up fighting. And then Kaz ends up battling off against the second thug that has the Inkay. Now, Kaz starts off the fight using his Torchic, and for a while, Torchic was doing an okay job, but Inkay has the advantage of using Light Screen in order to block off a lot of the attacks. And plus it's psychic, it gave it a bit of an advantage as well. So after that, Torchic ends up getting its butt kicked a lot. And then Kaz tries to keep battling, and when Torchic ends up getting really into the fight, it ends up evolving into Combuskin. Once it evolves into Combuskin, it immediately turns the tables on the fight and ends up knocking Inkay out. Then Staraptor knocks the other thug out with the Zigzagoon, and they basically save the day right there. Once that's all done, they head back, and the egg starts hatching. Once the egg hatches, it hatches into a baby Starly, and then Thomas is like, okay, I guess I gotta go ahead and take the baby Starly back to its nest. He tries to take Starly back to the nest with Staraptor, and Starly ends up showing that it immediately likes Thomas, so it chooses to stay with Thomas. And the Staraptors allow this. At this point, he looks up to Kaz and thanks him for all the help that he's done, and they make it into the next town with Starly. Officer Jenny is then called, and Thomas ends up going into Officer Jenny's car along with the newly obtained Starly, and Kaz ends up walking away from all of that, but they end up saying their goodbyes. Once they say their goodbyes, the two separate ways, Officer Jenny takes Thomas to his hometown, while Kaz walks off into the sunset and continues the rest of his journey. And at that point, the episode is over. I gotta say, I really liked how this came out story-wise. This was a lot that I was proud of. For a subplot, for a rival, I thought I really went far here, because I honestly didn't know how I was going to come at making a rival episode, like an episode strictly devoted to the rival and not Trent, Luna, and Coda at all. So I was very confused as to what I should put in as a plot. And I gotta say, making him like a big brother figure for this episode and making them have that relationship where they were in the woods trying to head back home, or at least trying to head back to a town to get him home. I thought that was really nice plot development and character development for Kaz. I feel this is a nice step for Pokemon Universe to make a rival that not only aggravates Trent and challenges Trent in order to become a stronger trainer, but also to have the rival have his own storyline. That way people can, develop and relate more to him. That way he's not just some rival that spites him like Gary, or there's some rival that pushes him further like Paul. He's a rival that actually people can connect with now because he has his own form of episodes that revolve around a subplot. So I was really proud of moments like that. Obviously there's a plot point in here too. Torchic evolves into Combuskin. So this is where we see the evolution from Torchic to Combuskin. So it's very plot heavy. Well, not very plot heavy, but at least when Combuskin is seen in future episodes, it won't be, oh snaps, he just evolved it off screen, obviously. No, we saw the evolution happen. So yeah, I think it makes him a lot more relatable. I gotta say, I'm really proud of the episode and how it turned out. It turned out way better than I thought, actually. So I was really proud of that. Other than that, I think that's all there is to really cover on this episode. Yeah, I had fun writing it. It was a really great episode to revolve a plot around. With one thing I could change, I might give the thugs a name later on, but there wasn't a real need for it. I couldn't really think of what name I could give them. You also see that Kaz caught Horsey, but he caught that off screen. I'm not going to do everything that Kaz does on screen, but it's good to have episodes every now and then to revolve around what's going on with him and his character. So, with that said, the next episode of Pokemon Universe is episode 9, River City's Flow, the Poke Poet. So, with that said, from that title alone, we know that in the next episode, they finally make it to River City, Trent, Luna, and Coda, because, yeah, the story's back on them now. So, with that all said, I'll see you all then, everybody. Tyrone the God 3, out.